Why does it seem like some women want other women, especially successful women, to fail? Women tearing each other down is not a moral mystery. It's a predictable outcome of socialized scarcity, identity policing, and internalized patriarchy. The impulse to undermine successful women is produced by psychological mechanisms, reinforced by social structures, and explained by feminist analysis as a symptom of systems that reward conformity and punish threat. Now, there are several psychological drivers for this. So, sociological comparison and envy, in which upward comparisons threaten self esteem. Seeing another woman succeed can trigger resentment and desire to restore status by diminishing the other. Scarcity mindset and zero sum thinking. When opportunities feel limited, another woman's gain is experienced as a personal loss, which fuels competitive or undermining behavior. And then, of course, there's internalized misogyny, cultural messages that women are less competent and must be likable are absorbed and then enforced by women themselves, producing policing, slut shaming, and covert hostility. There may also be several sociological mechanisms at play here. Patriarchal institutions and tokenism, for example. When prestige and power are concentrated in men, women who break into those spaces become tokens and face heightened scrutiny. Peers who have adapted to the system may gatekeep to protect their fragile acceptance. Under group norms and policing, social groups enforce conformity. Women who succeed in ways that violate local norms, surrounding things like ambition, style, motherhood choices, and so forth, are sanctioned to preserve cohesion. And there are also intersectional pressures. Race, class, religion, and region shape which successes are celebrated and which are policed, producing intra-group tensions about representation and acceptable behavior. If you apply feminist theory to this, it reframes the phenomenon away from individual pathology and toward structural causation. Undermining is a predictable adaptation to systems that pit women against one another. Two dynamics matter most. The first is respectability policing. Women learn that conditional acceptance requires fitting a narrow, non threatening mold. Those who refuse the mold are punished by institutions and peers alike. Then there's internalized patriarchy. When misogynistic norms are internalized, women police other women to maintain a social order that, paradoxically, keeps everyone constrained. Now, this maps amazingly well onto American conservative women who support Trump. Support for a political leader is often less about the leader's personal character than about identity, perceived threats, and the social rewards of loyalty. For many conservative women, the calculus that sustains their support for controversial figures rests on the same psychological and sociological foundations that produce woman on woman undermining, such as motivated reasoning and identity protection. Facts that threaten a voter's political identity are discounted or reinterpreted. Loyalty becomes a defense against cognitive dissonance and social ostracism. Cultural priorities and respectability come into play. Conservative political cultures often prioritize traditional gender roles and social order. A leader perceived as defending those priorities can retain support even when personal scandals surface, as we've seen time and time again. There's group cohesion and social cost. Breaking with a politician in group risks real social penalties from family, church, and community. Staying loyal preserves social capital and safety. Then there's also zero-sum framing. When political stakes are framed as existential, courts, immigration, cultural change, etc., voters tolerate or rationalize personal misconduct to secure perceived larger gains. These are not excuses, they are mechanisms. They explain why revelations that would topple a leader in one social milieu barely register in another. Information is filtered through identity, social networks, and the priorities that those networks enforce. There are numerous real world examples of this sort of thing that I'm sure we're all familiar with, like when a woman's promoted at work and faces gossip, higher performance standards, and subtle sabotage because colleagues fear altered power dynamics in their own prospects. Visibility on social media amplifies comparison and schadenfreude. Algorithms reward conflict, making attacks by other women more visible and viral. Within political communities, such as churches, local networks, and partisan media, create interpretive frames that normalize loyalty and marginalize dissent, especially when dissent threatens group identity. Now, how can we reduce these dynamics? You have to change the incentives. Transparent promotion criteria, mentorship, and institutional accountability reduce zero-sum thinking and make collaboration safer. You have to reframe communication. Critiques framed around shared material interests rather than moral condemnation are less likely to trigger identity defenses and more likely to open dialogue. And then there's, of course, conscious unlearning. Naming internalized misogyny and teaching alternative norms such as solidarity, coalition building, etc., weakens the habit of policing other women. At its base, undermining is a structural symptom produced by scarcity, socialization, and identity politics, not proof that women are inherently disposed to see each other fail.